Good evening, everybody. Hi. It's a little bit different again today because I am giving the reading from, let me just check that I got the sound. Oh, there you go, the sound was off. It's a little bit different today because I'm going to be doing the reading once again from Salzburg. And as you can see, I am not remotely in anything 1001 Arabian Nights or Smartish tonight. I am in a echte Salzburger Traditionsdirndl. Let me just turn the music down. I'm in a local dirndl, which I got from Salzburg. And as I'm here, I thought I would read to you in my dirndl tonight, as we're in Salzburg. So, let me just get comfortable. I'm going to have to do it a little bit differently, again, as I am online. And in Salzburg, it's all a little bit more complicated. So bear with me while I just invite everybody on board and make sure they all know that they can join us for the reading. Suddenly I've got very light, haven't I? There we go. So please just enjoy the music while I invite everybody on to listen to us this evening. Samantha, you can invite everybody on tonight, so I have to do it because it's a little bit complicated from here. Hello everybody, good evening. I'm just inviting different various people onto our reading today, and then I will be with you shortly. Good evening, everybody. I'll be with you in a minute. Right, I think we can start. Hold on. Okay, let me just turn the music off. There we go. Good evening, everybody. It is very lovely. Oh, it's got a cleavage there. You can't help it. That's the whole Dirndl experience. Welcome to the reading today from Salzburg in Austria. I'm at my mother-in-law's house, and this is where I'm reading from today. And this, what I am wearing, is Salzburger Dirndl. So it is the local national dress, and this is actually a dirndl from Salzburg. So I bought it in a shop here, a very beautiful shop here. So I thought I would wear this for you tonight. I had something else on earlier on, and I had my dirndl with me. So I thought, why on earth not? So welcome everybody, good evening. My name is Joanna Godwin Seidl. I am the director and producer of Vienna Theatre Project, and during the lockdown, a colleague and very dear friend of mine, Saman Girard, and I decided that to keep everybody entertained, we were going to read 1001 Arabian Nights. The lockdown is now over in Austria, but we have decided to carry on reading 1001 Arabian Nights anyway, and we're actually going to try and give it a good go and read it until the very end. And we're now on the 83rd night, so you can imagine we still have a number of nights to go. Anyway, I hope you are all sitting very, very comfortably. Please feel free to give me any... Yes, thank you. I love this music too. Do you know what this is, Adele? I'll put it up again on the Vienna Theatre Project page afterwards, but it's very easy to find. All you have to do is go onto YouTube, put in Dune as your search text and middle, and then this will come up, blue skies, sand, and the one to take is the one that has the least views because it doesn't have any advertising in it. The other one has advertising in it, so you can be listening to the music and be very relaxed, and then all of a sudden some horrible advert will come into it. So make sure you choose Dune Middle East on YouTube. I'll put up the link anyway here also after the reading today, and make sure you choose the one that has the least views because that one has no advertising in it. There are two of them, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, in my dirndl regalia from Salzburg, without any further ado, I will be reading you from the 83rd night of 1001 Arabian Nights. And I'm going to read about 3 nights tonight because they're all quite short tales, and otherwise Saman and I will be reading this until we're 80, and we'd quite like to get a life too. So there we go. So now, when it was the 83rd night, Scheherazade said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king, that the Wazir Dandan continued to Zau al-Makan. Now, quoth the 5th damsel to thy sire, when Moses, on whom be peace, entered the house of Shuyab, where supper was ready, Shuyab said to him, O Moses, I desire to pay thee thy wage for having drawn water for these 2. But Moses answered, I am of a household which selleth nothing of the fashion of the next world, for what is on earth of gold and silver. Then quoth Shuyab, O youth, nevertheless thou art my guest, and it is my wont that of my forebears to honour the guest by setting food before him. So Moses sat down and ate. Then Shuyab hired Moses for 8 pilgrimages, that is to say, 8 years. and made his wage marriage with one of his 2 daughters. And Moses' service to him was to stand for her dowry. As saith the Holy Writ of him, Verily, I will give thee one of these my 2 daughters in marriage, on condition that thou serve me for hire 8 pilgrimages. And if thou fulfill 10 years, it is in thine own breast, for I seek not to impose a hardship on thee. A certain man once said to one of his friends, whom he had not met for many days, Thou hast made me desolate, for that I have not seen thee this long while. Quoth the other, I have been distracted from thee by Ibn Shihab. Dost thou know him? Quoth his friend, Yes. He hath been my neighbour these 30 years, but I have never spoken to him. He replied, Verily, thou forgottest Allah, forgetting thy neighbour. Knowest thou not that a neighbour hath a claim upon his neighbour, even as the right of kith and kin? Sayyid Hurayfa, we entered Mecca with Ibrahim bin Acham, and Shakik al-Balk was also making a pilgrimage that year. Now we met whilst circumambulating the Kaaba, and Ibrahim said to Shakik, What is your fashion in your country? Replied Shakik, When we are blessed with our daily bread, we eat. And when we hunger, we take patience. This wise, said Ibrahim, do the dogs of Balk. But we, when blessed with plenty, do honour to Allah, and when anhungered, we thank him. And Shakik seated himself before Ibrahim and said to him, Thou art my master. And also said Mohammed bin Amran, a man once asked of Hatim the deaf, What maketh thee to trust in Allah? 2 things, answered he. I know that none save myself shall eat my daily bread, so my heart is at rest as to that. And I know that I was not created without the knowledge of Allah, and am abashed before him. Then the 5th damsel retired, and the ancient dame came forward, and kissing the ground before thy father 9 times, said, Thou hast heard, O king, what these all have spoken on the subject of piety, and I will follow their example in relating what hath reached me of the famous man of past times. It is said that Imam al-Shafi'i departed the night into 3 portions. The first for study, the second for sleep, and the third for prayer. The Imam Abu Hanifa was wont also to pass half the night in prayer. And the day a man pointed out him to another, as he valued by, and remarked, Yonder man watcheth the whole night. When he heard this, Abu Hanifa said, I was abashed before Allah to hear myself praised for what was not in me. So after this, he hath used to watch the whole night. And one of the sages hath said, Who seeketh for pearl in the deep, dives deep. Who on high would high, robs his night of sleep. Al-Rabi'a relates that Shafi used to recite the whole Quran 70 times during the month of Ramadan, and that in his daily prayers. Quoth al-Shahi, Allah accept him, during 10 years I never ate my fill of barley bread, for fullness hardeneth the heart, and deadeneth the wit, and induceth sleep, and enfeebleth one from standing up to pray. It is reported of Abdullah bin Muhammad al-Sakra that he said, I was once talking with Omar, and he observed to me, never saw I a more God-fearing or eloquent man than Muhammad bin Idris al-Shafi. It so happened I went out one day with al-Haris bin Labib al-Safar, who was a disciple of al-Muzani and had a fine voice, and he read the saying of the Almighty. This shall be a day whereon they shall not speak to any purpose, nor shall they be permitted to excuse themselves. I saw al-Shafi's colour change. His skin shuddered. With horripilation, he was violently moved, and he fell down in a fainting fit. When he revived, he said, I take refuge with Allah from the steed of liars and the lot of the negligent. O Allah, before whom the hearts of the wise abase themselves, O Allah, of thy beneficence, accord to me the remission of my sins. Adorn me with the curtain of thy protection, and pardon me my shortcomings by the magnanimity of thy being. Then I rose and went away. Quoth one of the pious, when I entered Baghdad, al-Shafi was there. So I sat down on the riverbank to make the ablution before prayer, and behold, there passed me one who said, O youth, make thy wuzu ablution well, and Allah will make it well for thee in this world and in the next. I turned, and lo, there was a man behind whom came a company of people. So I hastened to finish my ablution and followed him. Presently he turned and asked me, Say, dost thou want aught? Yes, answered I. I desire that thou teach me somewhat of that which Allah Almighty hath taught thee. He said, Know then that whoso believeth in Allah shall be saved, and whose jealousy loveth his face shall be delivered from destruction. And whoso practiseth abstinence in this world, his eyes shall be solaced on the morrow of death. Shall I tell thee any more? I replied, Assuredly. And he continued, Be thou of the world that is, heedless, and of the world to come, greediest. Be truthful in all thy dealings, and thou shalt be saved with the Salvationists. Then he went on and asked about him, and was told that he was the Imam al-Shafi. Al-Shafi was wont to remark, I love to see folk profit by this learning of mine, on condition that nothing of it be attributed to me. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. So, ladies and gents, we are going to carry on with, and I'm going to try and make it a little bit lighter by pressing on the right buttons, and hopefully that should work, but I don't know why it's not. Let me see if I can get this lighter. There we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? Okay. And when it was the 84th night, Shahrazad said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the Wazir Dandan continued to Zau al-Makan. The old woman bespake thy sire, saying, the Imam al-Shafi was wont to remark, I love to see folk profit from this learning of mine on condition that nothing of it be attributed to me. He also said, and I have never disputed with anyone, but I would that Almighty Allah should give him that knowledge of truth and aid him to dispread it. Nor did I even dispute with anyone at all, but for the showing forth of the truth. And I reck not whether Allah manifest it by my tongue or by his. He said also, whom Allah accept. If thou fear to grow conceited of thy law, then bethink thee whose grace thou seekest, and for what good thou yearnest, and what punishment thou dreadest. It was told to Abu Hanifa that the commander of the faithful, Abd Jafar al-Mansur, had appointed him Qazi and ordered him a salary of 10,000 dirhams. But he would not accept of this, and when the day came on which the money was to be paid him, he prayed the dawn prayer, then covered his head with his robe and spoke not. When the Caliph's messenger came with the money, he went into the Imam and accosted him, but he would not speak to him. So the messenger said, verily, this money is lawfully thine. I know that it is lawfully mine, replied he, but I abhor that the love of tyrants get a hold upon my heart. Asked the other, if thou go into them, canst thou not guard thyself from loving them? Answered Abu Hanifa, can I look to enter the sea without my clothes being wet? Another of al-Shafi's sayings, Allah accept him, is, O soul of me, and thou accept my rede, thou shalt be wealthy and of grace entire. Cast off ambitious hopes and vain desires. How many a death was done by vain desire. Among the sayings of Sufyan al-Thawri, with which he admonished Ali bin al-Hasan al-Salami, was, be thou a man of truth, and wear lies and treachery and hypocrisy and pride. Be not indebted save to him who is merciful to his debtors. Let thine associate be one who shall disassociate thee from the world. Be ever mindful of death, and be constant in craving pardon of Allah, and in beseeching of Allah peace for what remaineth of thy life. Counsel every true believer when he ask of thee concerning the thing of his faith, and beware of betraying a believer. For whoso betrayeth a believer betrayeth Allah and his apostle. Avoid dissensions and litigation, and leave that which causeth doubt in thee for things which breed no doubt. So shalt thou be at peace. Enjoy beneficence and forbid malevolence. So shalt thou be loved of Allah. Adorn thine inner man, and Allah shall adorn thine outer man. Accept the excuse of him who excuseth self to thee, and hate not any one of the Muslims. Draw near unto those who withdraw from thee, and excuse those that misuse thee, so that thou shalt be the friend of the prophets. Let thine affairs, both public and private, be in Allah's charge, and fear him with the fear of one who knoweth he is dead, and who fareth towards resurrection and judgment's dead, between the hands of the Lord of dread. And remember that to the one of two houses thou art sped, either for heaven's etern, or to the hellfires that burn. Thereupon the old woman sat down beside the damsels. Now, when thy father, who hath found mercy, heard their discourse, he knew that they were the most accomplished of people of their time, and seeing their beauty and loveliness, and the extent of their wisdom and law, he showed them all favour. Moreover, he turned to the ancient dame and treated her with honour, and set apart for her and her damsels the palace which had lodged Princess Abriza, daughter of the King of Greece, to which he bade carry all the luxuries they need. They abode with him 10 days, and the old woman abode with them. And whenever the king visited them, he found her absorbed in prayer, watching by night and fasting by day. Whereby love of her took hold upon his heart, and he said to me, O Wazir, verily this old woman is of the pious, and awe of her is strong in my heart. Now, on the 11th day, the king visited her, that he might pay her the price of the damsels. But she said to him, O king, know that the price of these maidens surpasseth the competence of men. Indeed, I seek not for them either gold or silver or jewels, be it little or much. Now, when thy father heard these words, he wondered and asked her, O my lady, what is their price? Whereto she answered, I will not sell them to thee, save on condition that thou fast, watching by night a whole month, and abstaining by day, all for the love of Allah Almighty. And if thou do this, they are thy property to use in thy palace as thou please. So the king wondered at the perfection of her rectitude and piety and abnegation. She was magnified in his eyes, and he said, Allah, make this pious woman to profit us. Then he agreed with her to fast for a month, as she had stipulated, and she said to him, I will help thee with the prayers, I'll pray for thee, and now bring me a gugglet of water. They brought one, and she took it, and recited over it, and muttered spells, and sat for an hour speaking in speech no one understood or knew aught thereof. Lastly, she covered it with a cloth, and sealing it with her signet ring, gave it to thy sire, saying, When thou hast fasted the first 10 days, break thy fast on the 11th night with what is in this gugglet, for it will root out the love of the world from thy heart, and fill it with light and faith. As for me, tomorrow I will go forth to my brethren, the invisible contrals, for I yearn after them. and I will return to thee when the first 10 days are past. The father took the gugglet and arose and set it apart in a closet of his palace, then locked the door and put the key in his pocket. Next day, the king fasted, and the old woman went her ways. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. I'm going to read one more chapter, everybody. I hope you're all still sitting comfortably. Oh, hi, Daniel. Oh, that's so lovely to see you here. Hi, Anita. Hi, Katerina. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this. So the last chapter for today, and it's going to be a big cliffhanger. I can promise you that because I did read on today and I found out what happened next. Now, when it was the 85th night, Scheherazade said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the Wazir Dandan thus continued to Zau al-Makan. Now, when came the day for the Sultan's fast, the old woman went her ways, and after he had accomplished the 10 days thereof, on the 11th he opened the gugglet and drank what was therein, and found it cordial to his stomach. Within the next 10 days of the month, the old lady returned, bringing sweetmeats wrapped in a green leaf, like no leaf of known tree. She went in to thy sire and saluted him, and when he saw her, he rose to her, saying, O welcome, O pious lady. O king, quoth she, the invisible contrals salute thee, for I told them of thee, and they are rejoiced in thee, and I have sent them thee their halva, which is of the sweetmeats of the other world. Do thou break thy fast on it, and at the end of the day. The king rejoiced at this with great joy, and exclaimed, Praised be Allah, who hath given me brethren of the invisible world. Thereupon he thanked the ancient dame and kissed her hands, and he honoured her and the damsels with exceeding honour. She went forth for the 20 days of thy father's fast, and at the end of which time she came to him and said, Know, O king, that I told the invisible contrals of the love which is between me and thee, and I informed them how I had left the maidens with thee, and they were glad that the damsels should belong to a king like thee, for they were wont, when they saw them, to be strenuous in offering on their behalf prayers and petitions ever granted. So I would fain carry them in to the invisible contrals, that they may benefit by the breath of their favour, and peradventure they shall not return to thee without some treasure of the treasures of the earth, that thou, after completing thy fast, mayest occupy thyself with their raiment, and help thyself by the money they shall bring thee to the extent of thy desires. When the sire heard her words, he thanked her for them and said, Except that I fear to cross thee, I would not accept the treasure or aught else, but when wilt thou set out with them? Replied she, on the 27th night, and I will bring them back to thee at the head of the month, by which time thou wilt have accomplished thy fast, and they will have had their courses, and be free from impurity, and they shall become thine, and be at thy disposal. By Allah, each damsel of them is worth many times thy kingdom. He said, I know it, O pious lady. Then quoth the old woman, there is no help but that thou send with them someone in thy palace who is dear to thee, that she may find solace and seek a blessing of the invisible controls. Quoth he, I have a Greek slave girl, Sophia, by whom I have been blessed with 2 children, a girl and a boy, but they were lost years ago. Take her with thee, that she may get the blessing. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the end of the 85th night. It's about to get really exciting, so make sure you listen in to Saman tomorrow, because don't you, whether you remember the whole story, how many of you have been listening in, but Sophia was the daughter of the Greek king who also lost, their names, the names fly into the ethos of the one that the king raped, remember? And then she escaped with her child, with that man, with the slave, who then also tried to attack her, remember? And then the 2 children that he speaks of, Sophia's children, Azal al-Makan and his sister Nuzat, remember? And remember, we are trying to discover how the king got poisoned. So make sure you listen. You are more than welcome, Anita. Make sure you listen in tomorrow, because it's all about to come to a big climax, and we're about to find out, at least it's going to wrap up some of the last stories of, gosh, it's been quite a long one this one, of at least 2 weeks, I think, of stories, and it's all going to be wrapped up, and we're going to find out what the tight little plot ended up being. So, thank you very much for the likes, everybody. Thank you very much, so much for the hearts. Thank you very much for the cares. This is the wonderful new thing, isn't it, since COVID, that we get cares now. I love the cares. The little hugs, the hearts with the hugs. They're terribly sweet. So, from my pleasant and beautiful domicile in Salzburg, just a couple of days here, we're going to go to the sea, to a lake tomorrow, and do a bit of sunbathing. And then we'll be back in Vienna over the weekend, and I will be back with you next week on Tuesday to read whatever is coming next in 1001 Arabian Nights tomorrow evening. It will be Saman reading for you. And I always forget what she says. Remember not to go outwards, to look inwards, something like that. I wish you all a very, very pleasant day or evening or night, wherever it is you are in the world. I hope you are keeping safe, sending you many blessings and many salams. Good night, everybody. Take care of yourselves and stay safe. Bye-bye. Take care. Good night. Tschüss. Aus Salzburg, auf Wiedersehen. Bye-bye, everybody.